The Battle of Normandy, which took place between June 1944 and August 1944 during World War II in 1939 to 1945, led to the liberation of Western Europe by the Allies from Nazi Germany's rule. On June 6, 1944, also known as D-Day, approximately 156,000 American, British, and Canadian forces landed on 5 beaches along a 50-mile stretch of the heavily defended coast of France's Normandy region. The conflict was known under the codename Operation Overlord. The invasion required careful planning because it was one of the biggest amphibious military operations in history. The Allies ran a significant deception campaign ahead of D-Day to trick the Germans about the invasion's intended aim. All of northern France had been freed by late August 1944, and the Allies had vanquished the Germans by the following spring. Many people believe that the Normandy landings marked the beginning of the end of the European War. Beginning in May 1940, Germany invaded and occupied the northwest of France during World War II. The British, who had been evacuated from the beaches of Dunkirk in May 1940, after being cut off by the Germans in the Battle of France, joined the Americans in the war in December 1941, and by 1942, Americans and the British were considering the possibility of a major Allied invasion across the English Channel. Plans by the Allies for a cross-channel invasion accelerated the next year. Even though the Germans did not know exactly where the Allies would attack in November 1943, Adolf Hitler, who was aware of the potential of an invasion along France's northern coast, assigned Erwin Rommel to lead defense efforts in the area. Rommel was given the task of completing the 2,400-mile-long Atlantic Wall, a defense made up of bunkers, landmines, and obstacles on the shore and in the ocean. General Dwight Eisenhower was named Operation Overlord's leader in January 1944. The Allies launched a vast disinformation campaign in the months and weeks leading up to D-Day to trick the Germans into believing that Normandy, not Pas-de-Calais, the narrowest point separating Britain and France, was the main invasion target. They also convinced the Germans that Norway and other places were suitable invasion targets. False equipment, a phantom army led by George Patton and purportedly stationed across the Pas-de-Calais in England, double spies, and false radio communications were just a few of the deception's many strategies. Eisenhower chose June 5, 1944, as the date for the invasion, but, because of poor weather in the days preceding the operation, it was postponed by 1 day. Eisenhower authorized Operation Overlord on the morning of June 5th, after his meteorologist forecast better conditions for the next day. On June 6, 1944, thousands of glider and parachute troops had already descended behind enemy lines by morning to secure evacuation routes and bridges. At 6:30 a.m., the amphibious invasions started. Along with the Americans at Utah Beach, the British and Canadians overcame minimal resistance to seize the beaches known as Gold, Juno, and Sword. At Omaha Beach, where there were more than 2,000 American losses, U.S. Marines encountered fierce opposition. By day's end, however, about 156,000 Allied soldiers had successfully stormed the beaches of Normandy. According to some estimates, the D-Day assault cost the lives of almost 4,000 Allied soldiers, while also leaving thousands more injured or missing. On June 11, 1944, less than a week later, the beaches had been completely held, and more than 326,000 soldiers, 50,000 vehicles, and around 100,000 tons of material had arrived in Normandy. The Battle of Normandy was effectively over by the end of August 1944, when the Allies reached the Seine River, freed Paris, and drove the Germans out of northwest France. After that, the Allied forces planned to advance into Germany, where they would encounter Soviet forces advancing from the east. We'll start the war from right here. If any blame or fault attaches to the attempt, it is mine alone. I am prepared to lose the whole group. Hitler made only one big mistake when he built his Atlantic Wall, the paratroopers liked to say. He forgot to put a roof on it. They fight not for the lust of conquest. They fight to end conquest. They fight to liberate. Two kinds of people are staying on this beach, the dead and those who are going to die. The waiting for history to be made was the most difficult. I spent much time in prayer. Being cooped up made it worse. Like everyone else, I was seasick and the stench of vomit permeated our craft. They're murdering us here. Let's move inland and get murdered. I don't feel that I'm any kind of hero. To me, the work had to be done. I was asked to do it, so I did. When I lecture kids, I tell them the same thing. You get your ass on the beach. I'll be there waiting for you, and I'll tell you what to do. There ain't anything in this plan that is going to go right. At the core, the American citizen soldiers knew the difference between right and wrong, and they didn't want to live in a world in which wrong prevailed. So they fought, and won, and we, all of us, living and yet to be born, must be forever profoundly grateful. Today, when people thank me for my service, I figure 3 years of my time is a cheap price to pay for this country. Nobody owes me a thing. The first time I saw a poster wanting men to sign up to be paratroopers and heard how hard it would be to make it in, I knew that was for me. I wanted an elite group of soldiers around me. There is one great thing that you men will all be able to say after this war is over and you are home once again. When you are sitting by the fireplace with your grandson on your knee and he asks you what you did in the Great World War II, you can look him straight in the eye and say, "Son, Your granddaddy rode with the Great Third Army, and a son of a goddamned bitch named Georgie Patton. It was a different world then. It was a world that required young men like myself to be prepared to die for a civilization that was worth living in. I cherished the memories of a question my grandson asked me the other day when he said, "Grandpa, were you a hero in the war?" Grandpa said, "No, but I served in a company of heroes." All I could see was water, miles and miles of water. But this was D-Day, and nobody went back to England, and a lot of infantry riding in open barges seasick to the low-tide beaches were depending on us to draw the Germans off the causeways and gun batteries, and so, as Porter hurled himself against me, I grabbed both sides of the door and threw myself at the water. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Thank you to those men and women who put self aside, because they held the thought of us on the inside. So, whether that be the bloodied beaches on D-Day, or any number of other battles remembered or forgotten, we now hold you on the inside and we say, thank you. I am firmly convinced that our supporting naval fire got us in, that without the gunfire, we positively could not have crossed the beaches. Suddenly, all hell let loose. The beach was under fire from shells, mortars, and machine guns. We dived for cover. The sea was covered in blood, and vomit and flies began to arrive by the thousands, which created another nightmare. We continued all night, and the following day without a break. Slowly we overcame all the nightmares. There was no lack of humor. A soldier coming ashore asked, "Is this a private beach?" I was promised a private beach. If not, I am not staying. And we heard, my mother told me not to travel by air. She thought it was much safer by sea. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. At that time, we didn't know it was D-Day. We just knew we had a job to do. We have a sufficiency of troops. We have all the necessary tackle. We have an excellent plan. This is a perfectly normal operation, which is certain of success. If anyone has any doubts in his mind, let him stay behind. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.